Good morning and a warm welcome back. I'm Errol Barnett as we both look live at the Capitol Dome for you once again this week. It's a high of 58 degrees there in Washington, only 39 degrees right now. The House will finally be back in session today after 2 weeks away, and that's where our top stories this Wednesday begin. A vote to reopen the government is expected this afternoon. Several Democrats are still upset with colleagues in the Senate who voted with Republicans to advance this bill. Last night on the takeout, Congressman Mike Levin, a Democrat from California, weighed in on calls to replace Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
I think at the end of the day, Schumer did not meet this moment. I think he either could not or would not keep his caucus united. And you contrast it within the House, where Hakeem Jeffries and Catherine Clark, Pete Aguilar, they kept us incredibly unified in the House.
With all the flight issues and cuts, some lawmakers aren't taking any chances with their return to Capitol Hill. Jim McGovern from Massachusetts says he took a train from the Bay State to Washington. Derek Van Orden, who represents Wisconsin, is riding his motorcycle all the way there. And Arkansas's Rick Crawford and Mississippi's Trent Kelly are taking a road trip together. The House Rules Committee ultimately advanced the Senate version of the bill to end the shutdown. There were arguments over an addition to that bill that would allow lawmakers to sue for $500,000 if federal law enforcement seizes their data. But that survived the committee vote because changes would require sending it back to the upper chamber. And with the House coming back in session, Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva will officially take her seat today. She won a special election 7 weeks ago. Speaker Mike Johnson has said he would swear her in once the House returns. Democrats accused him of delaying this because Grijalva plans to be the final signature needed to force a vote to release the Epstein files. And we now connect with CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion with the latest on all that's happening in your neck of the woods. Good morning again, Nikole. So if all does go according to plan, how does this government shutdown come to an end? How are Democrats reacting?
Yeah, well, look, House Republicans are really going to have to do this mostly on their own. And as of now, GOP lawmakers I have talked to feel that there should be the votes there to get this over the finish line. Unclear if any Democrats will defect. I did ask Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries about that. He said that Democrats would be meeting later today, but he did say that he expects Democrats to oppose this measure in part because it didn't include that extension of health care subsidies that Democrats have been calling for throughout the duration of this shutdown. I spoke with one Democratic lawmaker, James Walkinshaw of Virginia, who represents more than 55,000 federal employees. So obviously it's a difficult decision to decide whether to reopen the government or continue this fight over health care. He says he's going to oppose the package. Take a listen to why. How do you justify not reopening the government and paying people in your own district?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that for federal workers, the shutdown has been an exclamation point on 10 months of attacks they've experienced from the Trump administration.
So he told me, that he didn't feel this legislation really met the mark in terms of addressing the health care affordability crisis. Again, this issue of extending these subsidies under the Affordable Care Act as people are facing these sticker shocks and rising premiums as they try to enroll and sign up for health insurance next year. So that is something that he said was key. And as you heard him there say, obviously federal workers have taken a lot of hits. So, and that's what we've heard from some federal workers and from many Democrats, that this shutdown was just yet another assault. That being said, we do expect this package will likely pass if Speaker Johnson can keep his Republican conference in line.
And Nikole, what about Democrat Adelita Grijalva? She will finally be sworn in to Congress today, weeks after winning her special election in Arizona. And what would that mean for the timeline of the release of the Epstein files? We know that she support.
Yeah, well, this is a major development. I mean, let's back things up a bit in the sense that Adelita Grijalva, the Democrat from Arizona, her father passed away. She ran for his seat. She won this special election on September 23rd and has not been sworn in. In fact, things got so heated that we saw Arizona's Attorney General file a lawsuit over this, basically arguing that her constituents were being denied their representative. So things got really ugly as far as this is concerned because Grijalva has not been seated in some 7 weeks. So now this is a huge moment that she will have that opportunity to now assume the role as Congresswoman. She claims that this was politically motivated because she will become that final signature on a discharge petition that would ultimately call for the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, although a vote on that would likely take place at some point next month. So one controversy down, another in the future.
Never a dull moment in your part of the world. Nikole Killion with all the latest information. Thank you, Nikole. Now, airlines have canceled more than 9,000 flights across the U.S. since last week, and that's to deal with shutdown-related staffing shortages. But officials warn negative air travel impacts could continue even after the shutdown officially ends. CBS News senior transportation correspondent Kris Van Cleave joins us once again from Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport with more. Kris, good morning. You know, Thanksgiving's right around the corner. Is air travel likely to be back to normal even before then? Do we know?
Well, that's certainly the hope, but there are a lot of unanswered questions. You know, there is a potential end to the shutdown in sight, and it looks like the shutdown will end, but, you know, that's not a guarantee until Congress votes, so that remains a concern. And then there's the issue of how do you ramp back up the flight schedule? You know, airlines have cut 6% of flights into 40 of the busiest airports again today. That translates to roughly 5% of all of the flights scheduled in the U.S. today. They're supposed to cancel even more tomorrow under this FAA order. And the Secretary of Transportation says just because the government reopens doesn't mean they're going to withdraw that order right away. Take a listen.
We're going to wait to see the data on our end before we take out the restrictions in travel, that 6% we have in place right now. But it depends on controllers coming back to work.
All right. And once those restrictions are lifted, it may take the airlines a few days to build back up their schedule in the same way that it's taken them days to sort of step it down. So it's not a quick fix, Errol. It's not like a light switch, but certainly everybody is watching the clock. Traditionally, the Thanksgiving travel rush would start the Friday before Thanksgiving. Certainly airlines would like to be back to normal by about this time next week so that they can accommodate what will be a surge in flyers as we get into the Thanksgiving week. That's one of the busiest travel periods of the year. There's not a lot of extra space to absorb all those passengers if they have to cancel 6, 8, 10% of flights to 40 airports.
Which makes every small travel disruption even that much more disruptive should it come to that. Kris Van Cleave with the reality check from Phoenix. Thank you, Kris.